So Nzuzo, you speak of going and going into a class and learning, and I mean you're an architect by profession, but you go to school to learn new things. I'm also one of the legacy students, so I'm immensely grateful to the legacy to Robert Kiyosaki in terms of his teachings and things like that. I've learned quite a lot, and everything that I do in my business is centered around that thinking. And me and you, we come from that same school. But the thing here is, you're an architect, you know already about property. Why go and seek someone else to be a coach? Why go seek new information for you to progress? I mean, couldn't you progress on your own?
TJ, you cannot stop learning. And the sooner you realize that you do not know what you do not know, the better the chances are that you can grow, you see. So there's a wide difference between a profession and the property industry as a whole in terms of investing and developing. So from my side, you see, as architects, we are trained to design buildings. But the reason behind it, you see, someone decided that there must be a building there. He saw a need to fulfill that gap and saw an opportunity, and then comes to us for the technical expertise. But the investment mindset, it's a completely different ballgame altogether, because you have to then go back and understand. Hence, I said earlier that I was getting frustrated in some cases where people would come to me and say, we want to build a mall here, we want to build a block of flats. And sometimes it wouldn't materialize. Then I started asking the question, why? It's when in that quest that I then engaged myself into the quest to learn about property investment, And the first book I read was actually, a property book that I read was The Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That was the first property book I read. And it changed my mind, and I saw a completely different way of thinking. You see, I cannot just be happy about just designing the buildings, but I do not know how it came about. Who is the mastermind behind it? How did they arrive? So we then had to go. You have to humble yourself and admit that you do not know, and you seek the knowledge. So when I joined the legacy, I was so fascinated because I already had this hunger in me to understand how these buildings come to be and why are some of these investors succeeding and why are some are not, in this development space. So I started studying and I got a coach and I attended these seminars. One of the first things that I will never forget, things that we take for granted. I remember we were just asked to take out our credit cards and call the number at the back of the card and call them and ask them to reduce the interest rate. Just like that. I think I had like 25% and they reduced it to 18, just with a simple phone call. For me, that changed my way of thinking completely. I'm like, so you mean just by making a phone call, I'm not saying I want to do anything specific, but I just asked them, So to me, this thing continued. That how much more do I not know? If a simple thing, so there's so much that we then went into detail. That was very, very interesting. That takes us to another level.
A lot of people go into these seminars, be it online. I mean, we're in COVID now. A lot of these things are happening, online, and they become literally information junkies, but they don't do anything. I'm glad that you went into the seminars and you picked up something. And from the time that you started going to your seminar and journeying with your coach, you are a professional, you're an architect. It opened up your mind. But opening up your mind is different. I always say to people, I don't want my mind to be opened up. I want my mind to be opened up. Number one, I want the results in my bank account, right? because my investment in that seminar now needs to translate into something else. I think my wife and I, we paid just below 200,000 for our legacy education. And I'm extremely grateful for that whole money that we paid for that period, including a coach and things like that, because it has now given birth to a business that's in 5 cities. It has now given a birth to 300 students that I didn't think I could, or even imagine that it can be done. And with 200 tenants across the country and with multiple partners. And I'm grateful for that investment. And it can show in my bank balance. And this is by no means comparing at all. But I always say to people, your journey starts not in the classroom. The journey starts when you are out. The classroom was information. Now, when you're out there and when you're doing a deal, that's where the real education really starts from. Yeah. Is there any difference, Nzuzo, with what I'm saying with my experience versus your experience? Where are you now with your investments? Investments, that's number one. And number two, the learnings that you have now gotten. When you were thinking that in the class, oh, I've opened my eyes. But when you're on the ground doing the actual, in the trenches, doing something else, then you realize that, I'm really learning. Are you any different from me, or this is standard?
Well, in knowledge, they say knowledge is power.
Right.
And that's not true. It's applied knowledge that is power. And I'm sure many people have heard that. Yeah. So, the information that we already know and we already have had access to, if we were just to apply a fraction of it consistently, the results will show. We are what we put in. So I'm a strong believer. I myself, as I'm a type of person who, if I rub shoulders with Donald Trump, I would become a billionaire without a doubt. So you have to have that ability to be influenced. Your heart has to be open, and you must be influenced going into these seminars, because you can go in with a closed mind and walk out without actually doing anything. So I think I've also spent around 100K on myself on these property sessions and education. And there's much more in terms of books and downloads. There's much more.
You become hungry.
The problem is you keep getting hungry. You see, let me just tell you one case with what happened to my coaching session with Warren. You see, I'm an architect, so I have my own staunch beliefs on how things should be and what I'm looking out for, the aesthetics. I want the building to be like this. But when I submitted my development to Warren, he then challenged me, and I must say, I had a serious problem with this, because here is a seasoned investor.
You spend money on an expert, a coach.
Yes.
And now the coach is telling you need to be doing this, and you have a serious problem with it. That's typical. I have the same problem.
You see, from where I come from, I want my buildings to look a certain way, Then he's asking me, but what is all of this for? And I'm like, no, it's architecture. And it's like, no, but this is not really functioning to its full extent. Maximize the property. And I'm like, come on, Warren, I'm an architect here. I should be telling you, but at the same time, it took me about a year to change what he told me to change. Sure. And I'm telling you, I've got a student accommodation that I'm working on. It's like a long-term project. It's going to be a 600-bed structure. But initially, I designed it in such a way that it's tailored to become a student accommodation. So he kept challenging me that he's not happy, because this student accommodation thing, you must have a fallback plan or a plan B, an exit strategy. So we then just turned that into 2-bedroom flats. Right. So that was the argument all the time. But when I eventually did, fortunately, I'm the one who controls. I can do it myself. So this is where the transformation takes place, to see that, he could see things way ahead, based on experience. And I was short-sighted. I was like, no, we can maximize, you get more numbers like this. But he was like, yeah, you get more numbers now, but what if something happens? What exit strategy do you have? So now I've got 3 exit strategies, which is perfect, so I know what to do, so those are the kind of things.
I was in a training class at one point with Robert, and he was talking about as an investor, not only do you want to have multiple strategies, but you need to be knowing what's going to happen before it happens, so that you can actually make the decisions. So that if the economy goes down, you're making money. If the economy is coming up, you're making money. And you're making money either way. And I was like, wow, that is amazing, And this is all around prediction of what's going to happen in the market. Nzuzo, at the moment, it almost sounds to me that you've got 2 functioning business. The one business is where you're still running your architecture, and correct me if I'm wrong. And the other business is you're focusing on investments for you and your family. Do you want to tell us how the 2 work, or how they, help you as an individual and your family as well?
You see, we have been told many times, that people who are very successful have multiple streams of income.
Right.
And what has happened to me, I started out in an architectural business. And, I understand the construct. I understand the technicalities of putting up a building, renovating it. I understand the whole value chain. And I've done it many times. I've managed projects from A to Z, like almost like in a turnkey. But it was not a joint thing. So what happened was, I then, when I went into property, I must say that I've been also not only building the multi-lets, but I've been also having another strategy of buying vacant sites, putting 2-bedroom starter homes and selling them. They were flying like cake, and those are just like flowing. So in that process, you must know now, I ended up with their own team of my own builders,
right?
Which then some clients of mine then came to me and said, "But why aren't you constructing for us? Because we know you're doing your own things, And then I started having these clients who are busy, or others in other provinces. They say, "Please design this building, cost it, please get it built." So not only is it property and architecture, but and construction as well. So we do like a turnkey.
Nice.
So how does this come together now?
Yeah.
It comes together in this way. As an investor, it starts with that hat. I see opportunity. I see a property. I will do a feasibility on it. I'll run my numbers. We will design the building. We cost it. We build it, and we sell it. So we've got a relationship with estate agents that they actually source and find sites for us, and they don't charge. And they don't charge us commission while we're purchasing the site.
Yeah,
because they know
because you're not the seller, right?
Yeah,
but they're working for you.
Yes. So I've got that type of relationship. It works well, So they say we don't want to eat. We don't mind taking 20 rands, but we'd rather have when it's 2,000, when the whole building is being sold. So then they know they got more stake in it. So now all of that is becoming an entire value chain that I control within my own organization, because I'm creating this organization that identifies opportunities, apply the technical expertise, run the numbers according to property investment fundamentals, and we build it, we sell it, So the whole thing now, sometimes we renovate buildings and we sell them. So that's another strategy. All of this, if you look at it in isolation, it becomes frustrating. You get torn apart in terms of your time. But if you look at it holistically, because I've got someone running the architectural division, So I don't have to, I'm not the one who's gonna sit there and draw for you, you know. So there's someone who's managing construction. But where I still sit is the property investment and development side. I still control that because I think I still have a lot to learn myself.
Nzuzo, I think I've got another bone to chew with you, man. I know that time is not on our side for us to go through all of this, but what you have started doing is something that I've started doing within my organization about 2 to 3 years ago, which is exactly, I am the captain of the ship. I stay where the ship is going, but I am not physically doing the work. You are creating jobs. But creating jobs basically means that you are creating an engine. I call your thinking, you as a person, the engine. And now you got a cylinder, right? And the more you have more cylinders working for you, those are systems.
Yes.
But that cylinder is firing outside you as a person. Someone else is managing that. And all of a sudden, that person now comes to you and reports to you and say, this is how many people that we have managed to get as clients. We have drawn 45 of them. We've made profit of X, but you are spending potentially maybe 2 to 3 hours of your time per month in that business. But you know that business in and out. And I think that's another topic for another day, where I think a lot of people, they become entrepreneurs and they get stuck in their business without creating this engine that works for them, and they can't scale. You are in the scaling business now. And I really love that, and high five to you.
High five.
Awesome.
It's still work in progress. It's still work in progress because
it never stops.
With us, it's even harder because you see, I'm a professional myself. So to divorce or to walk away and let someone do the designs, and you see, that was the battle. But the advice that I've got is that I have to start divorcing myself. I must get out of the kitchen. So that was the advice I got.
And that's why I said I've got another bone to chew with you, because that's the biggest difficult hindrance for many entrepreneurs, especially those that fall within the profession. Because you know what's supposed to be done. And sometimes when something is not done, you want to do it.
It's a temptation.
Yes, but you're not enabling your resources. But having said that, Nzuzo, you are on this journey. What are some of the other benefits that you have now started seeing? When you started 10 years ago to where you are now, 3-4 years ago, you were with your coach, started off your journey with your coach, and you are where you are now. What are some of those benefits that you are seeing that it was a dream, but now it's a reality and you are dreaming other next things now?
Hey, that's a tough question, eh? Because it makes my heart a bit painful a little bit, because I just feel like, if I had got exposed to this kind of information at a much younger age,
man,
trust me, by now, I'm telling you, I will be on another level altogether, like a completely different ballgame, So
had you started sooner?
Had I started sooner, had I known, as I said, I had the heart, that I wanted to grow, I wanted more things. But obviously, one starts falling by the wayside. I got into Ponzi's that I didn't even know. So there's a lot more. You lend people money, and you're thinking this is an opportunity, they're gonna pay you back. Oh yeah, all sorts of things. But
I feel the same pain, man. I feel the same pain.
The next minute you see that you've lost about 2 million of school fees. That's just like that, So, but it's nothing wasted, because I'm quite very, very careful now what I go into. You can't come to me with a deal and pursue me like without me doing the due diligence. No matter how under pressure you are, I just relax and I said, okay, let me check out. I'm bold. I can tell you straight when something doesn't work. I don't have to, to buy your face. I just tell you, from my experience, this, and this won't work. Therefore, I'm not investing. Thank you very much. You know, just like that. So it could have saved me.
Yeah, a year ago, I made a decision that I won't buy units anymore. And I tell you, Nzuzo, do you know how many units have been coming onto my desk? Almost 3, 4 every week. It's like a big temptation now. But for me to scale, I can't be buying 1 unit, 2 units in a block of flats. I've said I'm going to focus on buying the building. That's where my focus is, right?
You see, that's Grant Cardone. That's Grant Cardone for you. You said buy the building.
Yeah, but the thing is that it comes from that decision making. What are you looking for? How do you know when you see it? And can you take action when you see it? And when it comes through or something else comes through, do you have the guts to say no? Because if you don't say no, it's going to waste your time or it's going to make you lose money.
Yep. Or else you're making money, but you're not doing exactly what you should be doing. Maybe making much less money than you should be. You know, or it's 100%. Not part of your vision. So when something is not part of your vision, you cast it out. Leave. It's the same with us. A client will come to us and we'll tell them, thank you very much. Sorry, we're not going to take your job. And they will be like, what do you mean you won't take our jobs? Like, no, we know
we've got the money.
There are other guys. There's another client who really wanted to strangle me because I was telling him that we're not going to take your job, you know, and he couldn't understand. So you have to understand, you have to narrow your vision and start saying what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. Because one of the hardest questions and one of the hardest things to do is deciding what you're not going to do. I learned that from JT Fox, and you have to create a stop doing list. You know, that's a difficult one. We are unfamiliar with that.
That's true. That's true. Nzuzo, what does success look like for you?
Success. It's many things, but definitely living life in my own terms. I want to tackle things. I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. I don't want to work from a state of prejudice. I want to do it. I want to express myself freely. You see, lately, you come into contact with a lot of situations that put you in a corner, that you now have to do things because out of desperation. So success for me is saying I'm at the point where I do not need money. I have it. I have enough flows that whatever I do, I don't do it because I have to. I do it because I want to. So that is the state for me, you know. I want to do things out of love because I want to, and to have the time available to me, you know, to be able to help others, you know, that for me is success, by all means. You know, and growing, by the way, growing every day is success. I'm a comrades runner, so I understand, you know, that you've got a long journey, but every 10K you feel the success and you said, made the first 10Ks, tick, yay, and you celebrate and then you continue. But ultimately you're winning the comrades, or you're finishing, you get to the finish line, and that's it.
You know? Nice. I really like that. Nzuzo, definitely, me and you, we've got a date. We're going to be talking about, the next time we talk, me and you are going to be talking, we're going to be talking about business and scaling. And I know exactly when I'm going to be bringing you back onto the show, because I think a lot of people, they buy these 2 beds, 3 beds, you know, they're stuck there. And a lot of people, they start off investing, they're now on 5 properties, and now it's equivalent to their salary, and they're stuck there, you know. And me and you, we are almost on the same part of, you can scale. We have tasted the scaling, because, you know, you run now a group of companies, right? And these are the cylinders that I was talking about, to say you can now have systems that are working for you. And I don't think that many are people within our generation have tasted that. With no disrespecting, there's many guys who have done it long before us, but they're not out there talking about it. And our show is about bringing those things on here so that everyone else can learn and they can implement it in their own place. So thanks again for you being here, and I look forward for our next chat. And I'm sure the guests are going to love it as well. And it will just be talking about scaling of the business. Obviously, there's many challenges. Obviously, there's many ways of doing it. And the show will be about exchanging notes so that the people can go and learn. Any closing comments, Nzuzo? A guy who was born underprivileged, not underprivileged, what do you call that? Premature. Right? Yeah, it's being it's also being underprivileged. You're underprivileged of the 2 months or 1 month of growing nicely in your mother's womb. So it's a guy who started off from a point of being a premature. Your parents had lost 2 babies along the way, and there you are kind of like the hope, the light of the family. And people start seeing you drawing these things and they're like, this Mfana, what is he doing? Doesn't he know he needs to put food on the table? But potentially, you don't have to answer this question actually. Potentially, you're potentially the first real estate millionaire in your family.
No comment.
Nzuzo's being a politician. But that's what it is. You just need to be different. And if you become different from what your family has, there you start making other people that are coming behind you to start moving forward, because now they can see it. There's someone who has gone before them, and it's now all of a sudden it's possible. And for me, this is why we have this show. Any closing comments, Nzuzo?
No, definitely. I just want to tell you 2 things before I leave. Yeah. The first is when I ran the business in the first 3-4 years, you remember I would say I had lost like already $1 million. So it means I was making money. But I remained, I think I was driving a test for the 5 years, and I already had surpassed $1 million. I mean, I'm not talking something that is, I drove a Toyota Taz.
When was this?
I still have it.
Well done.
But here's the thing. This is the interesting part.
Yeah.
I drove the Taz, and the only time, and I was staying at home, in the basement in my house, people didn't know my status until I started building a 16-unit multi-let. You see, that's when they first realized what's going on with this guy. We thought he's just doing it, but he's there's nothing much to him, until they realized that. So my first advice is you have to invest as soon as possible into your business, because I created these mechanisms that will actually sustain us in the long term. Obviously, with property, which has then led me to other prospects. So I'm saying don't go and buy the Range Rover when you hit success, even in your core business. Start investing first, and then once that money, you can't be eating the tree. You have to eat the fruits of the tree, because then if you chop the tree and you use it, then you have nothing, no other source. You see. So that was the first thing. And that has led me to a point to, like, currently now I was just signing the final grants. We're buying a commercial property next door to ours. So we have come that far now that we're actually entering that space of commercial property. And God's grace.
You want to own the street, my guy. You're buying the neighbors.
You have to, you have to do it. You have no choice. But the thing is, let me tell you, God speaks to us all. You get that information, and then you get the affirmation in your heart that, you should be doing this, but your mind plays games with you. Sure. Now, when I went for that property, I went to an auction with no money down. I had nothing. I didn't have And I called a few friends of mine and I said, guys, I'm in an auction now. I didn't tell them before. And guys, we're gonna have to go in this building. And long story short, these are my guys. We are in there, we are with them, and we bought the property. And coincidentally, Home Affairs in Pinetown is looking for new offices. So our offices right now seem to be fitting, the specification they are looking for. So we'll see how it goes in 3 months' time. But I have a firm belief that next time we speak, I will be telling you about the contract. So you cannot stop. You cannot stop dreaming. You cannot, but you have to put into action. And maybe one of the final things I want to say that you have to decide. You have to assess ourselves whether you have a growth or a fixed mindset. Sure. A growth mindset is something that we have to adopt. It's the idea that I may not know something today, but tomorrow I will learn it, and the following day I will know it. And meaning whatever you didn't do right, whatever failure comes your way, you will rectify it and you will come back stronger. So whereas a fixed mindset is saying, you failed, that means you are a failure. A failure is a person who just stopped trying. That's all. I'm telling you now, at school, I wasn't a bright student. I mean, I was sitting in the back of the class. And in society, I wasn't all there in the front. But I'm just that failure who just keeps trying. And I just keep going, and surrounding myself with those people of high quality that encourage you and take me to the next level. They challenge my thinking. That's what you need. People like you, TJ. When I see you, I get challenged because I see the kinds of things that you're doing. I'm like, what kind of human being does these things,
I'm just doing me, man.
So rubbing shoulders with you definitely, will escalate us to the next level. Rubbing shoulders.
You've just hit it to the point, man. It sounds like you're like you're putting TJ on a pedestal, but that's not it. What you are basically saying is that the more you are in the circle of people that are doing great, you automatically also going to be great. And that's the same way I feel about other people. That's the same way I feel about you. And that's the same way when I see, guys that are doing, I'm like, I need to bring all of these guys close to me, because now when I'm seeing that happening, it's just natural. You then want to do.
Yes.
And by doing, we're all winning. That's it.
Exactly. Just like you don't want your kids to be hanging around drug dealers, because sooner or later they're gonna get a fix. So you might as well turn the tables. Hang around with successful people.
It's been amazing. It's been amazing hanging out with you, Nzuzo. Definitely a part 2 is coming down the line before the year comes to an end, and we're talking about scaling. But ladies and gentlemen, that was Nzuzo. And we'll see you on the next video.